You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Always good when we get a couple of minutes with noted LSU homer Cole Cubelic, who joins us now. How are you, dude?
Other than me dropping the being 2-0 in Baton Rouge in the latest podcast, other than that, yeah, we're all good.
Okay, so Cole does a show, which everybody knows Cole from SEC Network, as a YouTube channel. You can check out the Cube Show, and I came across a link where you make a case why LSU could win the national championship in 2023. I will ask you to completely spoil your tease, but still encourage people to go watch it. Why?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna dive into it amongst other things. We're trying to do college football content on Sundays. So I think it's at Cube Show 61. Why we had to throw the 61 on there, I don't know. Maybe somebody else had the regular one, but
okay.
I just don't think there's enough college football content on Sunday. So we'll do that every Sunday during the season. We review all the SEC games, film study, we dive in. Anyway, I would start with this rebuttal to your question.
Okay.
How many other teams do you realistically think could win a national championship this year?
Off the top of my head, I would say fewer than 10. I'll say 8.
Cool. I think that's a high number. And okay. I think 2 or 3 of those you'd probably be throwing in just on name recognition, like Ohio State would probably be one of those. And then some because of another individual player like USC, Caleb Williams, probably 2. So I don't know, man. It's just I don't like. Even last year, I thought it was a pretty low number, and I thought it was maybe 4 that realistically could. I mean, I definitely think Georgia could. I think that's pretty easy. I don't know about Ohio State, man. Like, they got offensive line issues. We don't know who their quarterback is, and I know they've been very fortunate with what they've had at quarterback, probably since around like 17, and even before that, it's not like Braxton Miller was a bad college quarterback. He's a great college quarterback, actually. So it's been a long time that they've had great quarterback play, great group of receivers, but I don't think the D-line is just going to be back to, what it was, Chase Young, Bosa, those kind of guys. Alabama could. Now, are they as talented as they have been? No, but I think collectively they're going to have good depth at most spots, and they're going to be well coached, and they're going to have, more talent than most teams they play each and every week. I kind of think the Pac-12 is going to cannibalize itself because for me, when you have elite quarterback play in a lot of your conference, the first thing that I think of, Matt, is there's going to be upsets. So if you have elite quarterbacks and not a lot of other great teams, but with the way Nick's played last year and Michael Penix and Caleb Williams, and the list just goes on in that league, there's going to be guys that have great games, and they're going to upset teams. So I don't know how many teams are really going to be in position to make the playoffs because you could have so many teams just kind of gobbling themselves up and giving each other 2 or 3 losses this year. Now, out of the SEC, I think you have to talk about LSU just number one. Like you and I talked about this time a year ago when people just ruled LSU out, I said, hold on a second. Georgia, Bama, who's got the next most talented roster in the league? And it was LSU. People want to say A&M, Florida, whatever. It was LSU. Now you can maybe make the argument that they're number 2 behind Georgia. And so with an experienced offensive line, depth at the O-line, depth at quarterback, which means, when we talk about this in the podcast, that's going to allow you to do some different things offensively if you want to in the quarterback run game, versatility. You got numbers at receiver. Are they dynamic at tailback? No, but are you going to have to be if your offensive line operates well and you got tight ends and big receivers? You can do all these different positions. You can go different formations. You can move guys around. And then I think defensively, I mean, you've got no one. It's amazing to me how few people nationally even know about Mason Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like outside of not even the entire southeastern footprint, but like if you went like half of Texas to like half of Georgia, and then just that, I feel like there's like 10% of the college football population outside of that even knows who he is. And I think the guy's going to dominate this year. And so you're telling me you're going to have 1, maybe 2 with Wingo up front that are going to dominate inside. And then you've got this Swiss Army knife, jack of all trades, utility player, line up anywhere and wreck your game playing Harold Perkins. and Omar Spates, like I was wondering was he going to look like an SEC linebacker? Because I pulled all the Oregon State film and I watched him. I'm like, yeah, he's fast, but he's sleek, and I just don't know how it's going to work. The dude's put on like 11 or 12 pounds, and he looks like an SEC linebacker, like every bit of it. So is there depth at safety? Maybe not. Is there still some issue at corner, and you're going to have to figure that out? Yes, but you at least have numbers to be able to figure that out with. I just think they're in a great spot from a depth perspective. You have takeover guys on offense and defense, D-line, linebacker, receiver, quarterback. The schedule's tough, but when it's that tough, I think it can also be forgiving if there's a game or two that you drop, depending on what you do at the very end. So I think there's a lot of reasons that we can make a real case about why LSU can win a national championship this year. And by the way, they kept like 90% of that staff together.
Yeah.
I think, if that staff didn't prove to you how good they were last year, then just don't talk about college football staffs anymore because you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Are you a believer in Jayden Daniels?
I'm a believer in enough of Jayden Daniels as a college quarterback to be able to get that done with what he's got around him. And here's the other part of that. Like, I'll go back to the staff, and you and I have also talked about this throughout the course of last year. Everybody's like, oh, they're getting so much better. They're getting so much better. I'm like, not really. They're just figuring themselves out. And the coaches are figuring out what the kids are really good at. And the kids are figuring out that the coaches know what they're talking about. They're trusting one another, and it's just working more and more. They're getting healthy, and they're not having to patchwork certain position groups together. But I as far as what he's going to have to do inside that offense with the weapons that he's going to have, and that's one of everybody. A lot of people will tell you spring games can't take anything, meaningless, doesn't matter. I totally disagree with that. Now, if you're just going to say, let's see if the offense is better, or let's see how much the defense has improved, no, you're probably not going to have any takeaways. But if you look for minute details within a position group, or especially an individual player, things you were worried about last year, like has he made progress here? The comfort level that I saw with Jayden Daniels in the spring game, and then from what I've heard about just the precision, the accuracy, the chemistry, and just how he's operated the offense through the spring, those were the things that I needed to see him make some strides with, and he's done that. So, yes, absolutely. To go win a national title, of course he can. Now, does he need to be Joe Burrow and throw 60 touchdowns? No, he doesn't, because he'll be able to run the ball, number one. He might have running backs to be able to hand the ball, number two, and they should have a pretty good defense to be able to go out and win some games, number three.
He's on Twitter at Cole Cubelic, SEC Network, and Cube Show 61 on YouTube. Make sure you go subscribe up there on YouTube.
Oh, we're just inching up in the subscribers, too. We're just like just a little baby podcast trying to get up there where you are.
We're all climbing, bro. Anyway, hey, so real quick, because I do want to ask a couple of other big picture SEC questions in a second, but one more on LSU. If there is something that prevents LSU from winning the West, and I'm not talking about like because Bama's really good. I mean, internally with LSU, what's the Achilles heel? What's the thing that maybe needs to be answered?
I can't believe I'm going to say this.
Okay.
Honest to God. I mean, I can't believe these words are going to come out of my mouth, and not just one part of it, both parts of it. Running back and corner.
Okay.
The two things we never thought we would say about LSU football.
I know.
It's almost like the walk-ons that could play that position just fell out of the stand, like over there in the corner of the end zone. You just went and grabbed the dude, and you're like, oh, second-round pick. Oh, that guy, he's never going to make it. Oh, first-round pick 2 years later. Like it just. But part of that also is like 2 weeks ago I talked about the Georgia defensive line, how in the spring game, like I wanted to see some explosion. I wanted to see them attack in the middle. And I didn't see any of it. Like they had almost no wins, and all the Georgia media got all mad and like this guy thinks we're terrible. Well, no, I'm judging you by Georgia standards.
Right.
And Georgia's standards pretty damn good. And you know what the LSU standard is at corner and running back? Excellent, like best in the league most years. So, and again, like I said before, might not matter if you got guys that can get to the quarterback. You don't have to have great corners. If you can run the ball with your quarterback and you have multiple receiver sets that you can utilize and a tight end you can throw to, and he's pretty accurate getting the ball out, you don't have to be dominant in the run game. But if those two things that look like they could potentially hold them back, and there's a game that you had to lean on a running back to carry the load, or your corners are going to have to be in man coverage for whatever reason, like that right now will be the two things that I'm probably most concerned about heading into the season.
I want to ask you about Alabama because that's been a big question here coming out of spring. Well, let's be honest, Cole. It's been a question everywhere with the Tyler Buckner thing and all the quarterbacks stinking in the spring game. Are they like, is this it? I mean, every great dynasty falls. Like, it does. Like, everyone falls. Pete Carroll's USC thing was great for a decade, and then they weren't. Like, is this it? Like,
No, because we've gotten so numb to so many pieces of it that, like, we talked about this on our show. Like, Bryce Young was the number one pick, and it was almost ignored from an Alabama perspective. Now, of course, he's great and Heisman and first pick, but if you recall, that's like one of the 2 or 3 boxes that have not been checked in the career of Nick Saban. And so he finally does it, and, like, no one talks about it. It's just kind of like, oh, yeah, okay, another draft. It's like, no, hold on. Like, that's one of the 2 or 3 things left that he had not done that other coaches had done, and now he's done it. I just still think we forget how well they've recruited for the last forever. And there's going to be a ton of talent on that team. There's going to be guys that are heavy contributors on that team that you did not see in the spring game. Are they going to have to rely on some young guys like Caden Proctor at tackle and Caleb Downs at safety? Like, yeah, probably. Are they going to get help from a freshman running back? Yeah, there's a good chance that they got a freshman running back that'll not carry the load, but be one of the guys that carries the load. Is there an income receiver in Malik Benson that's going to help them a ton? Yes. The advantages that I think they have is some of the things we mentioned with LSU. They're going to have more depth on the offensive line, which is going to bring more competition, which means they're not going to have to leave guys in if they're not playing up to the standard. Receiver, is there an Amari Cooper? Is there a Julio Jones? No, I don't think so. Maybe Malik Benson, but I'm not going to put him there just yet. But I think they have enough B-plus receivers that it's not really going to matter. I think tight end's the exact same way. Running back is the same way. Now, is the defensive line, is there Quinton Williams and Jonathan Allen and those guys? No. But I think you got Dallas Turner coming off one edge. You got another good pass rusher coming off the other edge in Chris Braswell. I think you have one of the best corners in college football in Kool-Aid McKinstry. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. So, again, starting linebackers, you didn't really see them in the spring game. So those guys are going to be out there. I think there are enough numbers that it's going to make up for a lot. Now, are they going to have a quarterback that can dig them out of the hole a lot of the time if they have to have that? Probably not. No. I still think it's Ty Simpson. I think Tyler Buckner, number one, availability is your best ability. Like, you got to be out there playing. Kid's been banged up. Number two, he's giving the ball to the other team. Just reality. Just very real what it is. Can't do those 2 things and play for Nick Saban. Not going to happen. So until he goes and shows me consistently he can do that, I'll take Ty Simpson, the one with the upside. Okay. And here's the other part. Everybody pees their pants about, Buckner and Tommy Rees, they know each other, and like, the continuity, this and that. Let me just – 2 things with that, Matt. 2. 1, they're not running Tommy Rees's offense. Now, he will call it the way that he wants to. And I know people have a hard time really believing this, but I'm telling you, I sat down with Bill O'Brien 2 consecutive years, and he hammered this to us. I sat down with Steve Sarkisian. He talked about this. Lane Kiffin told us about this. The verbiage, all the language, what things are called, protections, run plays, checks, they stay the same every year. Tyler Buckner doesn't have a verbal advantage coming into this offense. He does not. It's not there. And also, like, for all the, these guys have got to be buddies, how have we forgotten that Tommy Rees was on the staff that brought Sam Hartman in, which put him on the bench to begin with?
That's a great point.
So, I mean, I just don't know if that thing's all, hunky-dory like a lot of people think it is, but he's got a chance to maybe go play in Alabama, so he took it.
He did bench him. But they don't bring him in if he doesn't co-sign, right?
I don't know. I'm so interested to see what the dynamic is with Tyler Buckner and Tommy Rees, because Tommy Rees was on that staff that went and got Sam Hartman and said, dude, you are so much better than what we have. Get in here and play right now. And they got him. And then this kid's going to go back with him after he brought the other dude in. And just that part, I don't know why no one talks about it. It doesn't make any sense.
That's so good. Hey, any chance Sam Hartman could leave Notre Dame and go?
I'm not going to tell you I don't think that wasn't investigated, but that's a conversation for another day.
The best part about this, Cole, is like you and I both are laughing at Alabama together, which is really good. It's like my enemy's enemy is my friend sort of thing.
Yeah, but if you knew how many times I had convinced myself that thing was on a downhill slide, and then I got kicked in the teeth. Like, I don't want any more kicks in the teeth, man. I've been to the dentist too much. I'm just going to take a wait-and-see approach on this one. It's not going to happen.
I've never convinced myself that they were on the downside, ever. They've always gotten the benefit of the doubt. Thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.